Hiboson here. Here we are back with part H of the build video for the Sunhokey 3D printer that I'm doing. This week's basically going to be putting on the end stops and doing all the wiring up and what have you there and getting it all connected up to the main board. So I'm not going to hang about with it. Let's just get on with it. Right, let's get on with part 15. Now on the last part I mounted things like the circuit board and the power supply. As you can see here, I have the power supply taken off again just at the moment for doing the next stage of wiring up. Now also something to note, and I did put this as a sub note on the video last week, is put the power supply with these pointing down. So if you have a look at the screen now, you'll see the way I had it, which was wrong, and this is the way it should have been, which is right. Now you can actually do it whichever way you personally prefer, but the reason I say one's right, one's wrong is I feel that if it's this way up and it's on that machine there and you're working around the machine, there's a possibility, a chance of catching, and if one of those wires comes out, you could catch that that wire. So by having that at the bottom down nearly right up against the floor, the chances of you hitting or touching any possible live wire are greatly reduced. Now obviously if one pops out and then the live pops out and touches this case, it's going to make the case live anyway, so you want to make sure your connections are good. You do not want them popping out, but you know, I felt that if you had a bit up here and the wire was just had a bit too extra length here, you could catch it. I just don't want to see anybody get hurt. Obviously anybody that's following any of these videos is doing so at entirely their own risk. I'll just point that disclaimer out now. But so what I need to do now is this stage here we'll be putting the power lead on and attaching the red and black leads that we're going to be going to the main board. Now this is the one that came with the system, and I forgot to ask for a UK plug, and I've got a foreign plug here. As you can see, it's not going to fit in our plug hole, and I could just get an adapter and use that, but it was just going to be easier. I've got a bit of cord here. I've got a nice even heavier duty piece of cable that I have taken now, and I have already trimmed and stripped and twisted. What I'm going to do is with this bit here, I don't need the plug, but I will need, as you can see them here, the red and black wires, because they are going to be the ones that go from here to the main board. So I need to get these ones out of this bit here, so let's just rescue them from there. Put that to one side, don't need that now, I'll keep these just here. Okay, what I'm going to be doing is taking these wires here, tinning them like we did before, and then attaching these, one of these style of crimp connectors. Now I'm not going to do purely crimping, because purely crimping is definitely not something I would generally recommend, especially on mains type electricity, because basically if you don't do it right, they'll just pull straight out. So the way I do it is I'm going to be, like I said, tinning these, then I'm taking these ones here where you can see I've removed the plastic section, and tin it, put on a bit of heat shrink, then put that on there, heat it up, add extra solder, and then that way you have a nice strong mechanical bond, because it'll be soldered to these metal connectors. Then put the heat shrink over the end part, shrink it down. I'll show you all that in just a second. So the reason I have chosen these ones over the slot type like this, now these ones would have easily slid in, tighten up, come out, so they're fine and dandy, but I wanted something more secure, because again, if you hadn't had that quite tight, it could still actually slip out. So I wanted a circular one that I could put the screw right through and then tighten down. Now these were just a little too wide to fit in that gap. So these ones here, which I've already prepped, are just tiny little bit of filing on each side, and they fit in a treat and they're nice and snug. So I'm going to now do that. I'm going to mount all of these on this wire here and also on the red and black wire here. Get them all hooked up to this, then get... I won't put that straight back on the printer, so for some of the next stages you might not see that on there. I'll pop that on there as and when I feel I'm ready. I won't bother going through that stage, I'll just pop it on when I'm ready. Anyway, let's get on with this. Okay, I'm just putting this on top of this here, so I'm not trying to solder directly onto paper, because that would be a bad idea. Now the little problem I've just had here now is I pop the heat shrink on first because you want to do that so you can't, otherwise after you've put these on you can't really get it on. Unfortunately the cable's got so warm that it's all pre-heat shrunk itself further down, so what I'm going to have to do is get some slightly wider heat shrink that can fit over the top of these and shrink that down. Oh well, these things happen. But here you can see a very nice tight mechanical bond. Apart from my heat shrinking, you can see they're really securely on there. You know, if I pull on this, it's, you know, it's not going to give. So I now just have to get some heat shrink on here from out my little collection. Yes, I did get it at Halfords. Not the cheapest place in the world to get it. It's actually rather expensive from there. Better off at Maplin's or RS or somebody, or eBay even. There we go. There are my power cables all soldered and heat shrinked, ready to go on here. Just got to do the same again now for the black and red wire. Okay, so on the power supply here, where we'll be connecting your wires are the live will be going onto position 9 here, the neutral onto position 8, the earth onto position 7, the black one going to the main board on position 4 here on the negative volts, and the red wire going on the positive volts here in position 1. Right, so now we know where they're going. Let's just pop them in there. Okay, seeing as my luck's been going lately with some electronics and other things and breaking stuff left, right and centre, I had the wonderful blue smoke escape from my Xbox the other day when it read Ring of Death and then blew up on me. So I'm going to check the voltages on this first. I'm going to power that up now. I've got it hooked on and make sure it's giving out the 12 volts. So right, let's just do this. No smoke, that's good. Green light, that's good. So let's have a little check here. 12.08 volts. Oh, 12.09. That'll do me. At least I know this is working and giving out 12 volts for me. So cool, I can carry on. Okay, so now I've tested the voltage on this is working fine. I have now hooked up the red and black wires, same as I did with the others. Just unscrew them, pop them on there, and as you can see, it's now all nice and neatly on there. And I can pop that nice plastic bit down, and I should now, with all the nice bit heat shrink etc., have no real access to those areas to accidentally touch them or whatever. So like I was saying earlier, we've got the red, the black here, the earth, the neutral and the live. And for those that are not sure of your British colourings and that, the green and yellow is the earth, the blue is the neutral, the brown is the live. So that is where what colour sequence you want them going in there. I know you can't see it very well on here at the moment because, so there we go. So you can see it there kind of under the heat shrink bits that are there. But there we go. So I will pop that back onto the printer, but not just yet, because having this cable dangling off of it while trying to work on it, move it around, doing other things, will actually probably be a bit of a pain in the butt. So I'll probably put this on when I'm nearly finished all the wiring. Okay, let's get on to the next stage. Rightio, okay, now what we're going to do now is mount the end stops. Now I will first of all say, looking at their solution for mounting these end stops, they are atrocious. They don't look like they're going to hold up very well. I know that they have since, from what I understand, the later models now, they have redesigned them, which they seriously needed to do. But I've got the, by the look of it, the slightly older model. I don't know whether or not they're still shipping this model, but we'll, you know, if you've got one and you're putting it together, you'll soon know by if you have these god awful H pieces. Anyway, what you will need are 3 stop switches, 3 stop switch cables, 3 stop switch printed mounts, 3 M3 by 18mm bolts, 2 M3 by 16mm bolts, 2 M3 by 10mm bolts, and 2 M3 by 8mm bolts, and 9 M3 nuts. Now these mounts here, if I grab them all, I'm just going to grab all the parts in one go here, people. Alright, so that's me grabbed all the parts. So these are the printed parts that they have supplied to do this. Some 8-shape things. I've got 2 in yellow, 1 in red. Way not to colour coordinate, Sunhokey. Considering that was red, you could have thought they could have kept all 3 of these red to colour blend it all in, but I'm not that bothered because I'm going to be changing these as soon as I can anyway. Now the way that these basically work is they clip onto these various posts like here. Let's do it that one there because it's within camera. And then you tighten a bolt through that bit there and that holds it and clamps it on. But to be honest, it's still gonna, you know, move around on there. I don't really hold out for much for this. And then you just take the switch and then you screw it onto there, whether it's in that orientation or that, or in some of them it's like that. So that's why you got a variation of some of the screw lengths, because two of them mount almost flat to it. One of them mounts like that, so that uses the 2 16mm M3s. So what I'll do is I'll quickly mount the switches here, and I'll show you them once I've got them mounted up. Okay, the one with the 2 8mm by M3s mount on it, the switch goes this way here, so you can see it mounted where you've got the 2 holes here, the switch on the top, and that point in there to that way. Then the next one that uses the 2 10mm, it's this time it's mounted still with the switch facing that way if we're holding the H's this way, but the other way around this time. It's on the other side pointing down. These, I did originally have some 8mm I was trying this with, but it just wasn't going to reach, so I had to use 10mm because the bit of the circuit board here is pushing against that. And then the third one is, if I was holding it the same way round, you'd be looking at the back side of it, because what you've actually do on this one is you actually screw this with the circuit board like facing up and trapping the switch in between. So this one with the switch trapped in between is for the up here on the X carriage. The one here that's using the 8mm ones is down here for the Z axis. And the other one here, which is on like the back side of the H, which is using the 10mm bolts, is for the Y axis. The back there. Now once they're mounted, you use the M3 by 18s. And then what they do, let's just pull this one off here to show. Oh, excuse me. Use the M3 by 18s, and then what they do is once they're on there, you'd be putting that through and screwing on that side, and then when you do that, that helps clamp it down on there. So let me just try and get these into rough position now. Let's pop that on there. That goes through there. Spin it. Now the position of these, I'm going to put roughly in position at the moment, but I'll have to tweak the positions of these once I've got it up and running. At the moment I'm going to set these, probably stopping it way too early, and then I can then just kind of rein them in until I think it's hitting just the right position. But for now, I'm just going to mount them somewhere roughly right. Okay, I've mounted those 3 now, but even, as you can see, even with that quite tight, that's still wobbling. It'll do its job, as does this one. But yeah, I'm going to redesign print along with the new bracket I've got to go under the bed of this already. I'm already in my head redesigning those brackets, and they're going to be changed. So there we go, they're mounted. All we now got to do is plug in their wires and start doing all the cable routing now for all the other bits. There are still some other little things to be done on here, like the Bowden tube and what have you, but it's pretty much ready to start wiring it all up and figuring out where everything goes. So I'm going to move on to that step now. Okay, right, in this step what I'm going to be doing now is taking all of these various different motors, heated bed elements, things like that, sensors and that, and plugging them all into the main board just here. Now, due to the camera battery on my secondary camera has just died, and to be honest, try and get that big DSLR in here, it wasn't going to work. So I thought the best way to do this is I'm actually taken stills of all the components, all their connectors, and still of the board here, and then I'm going to populate the board, take photos as I go, and then do a voiceover on top of that as of which ones are going in where. So you've seen a picture of the connector, which component it is, and where it's actually going. And then once I've got this all done and routed, then I will then take a camera hands-free, hopefully by which time that should have charged, and I'll be able to take you for a little navigation round and show you where I've routed and routed all the cables, so you can have a good idea where they're going. So I'm now about to get onto this, and here comes a little slideshow basically. Okay, first we have here the main board. Now on this main board, the main connector areas are on the right here, the stepper motor connectors. This is where we'll be plugging all the axis motors into. At the top, the power connectors for things like the heated bed and etc. The fan header for the box fan, that one will be for. Then down the bottom, the connectors for the controller part. Then these are the thermistor connectors for the heated bed and the hot end. And then we have the end stop switches connectors. Okay, we're going to start off with the Z2 axis motor. As you can see, there is the connector there, and it goes into the one on the bottom right there. And then we're going to move on to the extruder motor at the top here, and as you can see, that's going to go in the one just above the Z2 motor. Then we are now going to move to the Z1 motor on the right hand side there, and this is going to the middle stepper connector. Then we're going to go for the Y-axis stepper motor, and that one there is going to plug into the fourth one up on the right hand side there. Then if you have a little look at the top there, we have the X-axis motor, and that is going to go and plug at the very top one on the right hand side. So that's the stepper motors down. Next we're going to take the red and black power lead from the power supply, and they're going to go in at the top there on the left hand side. Next we're going to do the heated bed section. There's 2 lots of wires here. So first we're going to start off with the power cables for the heated bed, which are the 2 red ones there, and then the little white one pops in at the bottom center one there for the thermistor connector. Next we have the hot end and all of that section. First we're going to take the squirrel type fan cage fan, and that's going to go in at the top on the power connectors at the top just there. Then you will see the box type fan. That one there is going to go at the top of the headers on the left. Then we're going to take the thermistor from the hot end, and that's going to go in the bottom just to the right of the thermistor we put in earlier for the hotbed. Then at the top there we will see the 2 power cables for the actual hot ends connection, and that's going to go in at the top right there. Next we're going to do the stop switches. So starting on the Z switch, which you can see there, and that's going to go on the second from the bottom of those connectors there. Then you're going to go for the Y switch, which is going to be jump a gap, then that one there, which is the third one down from the top, fourth one from the bottom, and then we're going to get the x-axis one there, which is going to actually go in the very top one there. Okay, so that's most of the ones from the main thing. Now we're going to get the LCD control panel. That, as you can see from that picture, has two cables coming out already there, but we need to actually plug them in. So you take those two connectors there, take one of your ribbon cables, plug it into the left hand side one as you look at it there, and that goes into the bottom of the board on the right hand side. And then if you plug one into the right hand side as you see it on the back, that's plugging into the connector on the bottom left there. And here I've done a close-up so you can see the power connectors a bit more close up, so you can now have a good idea of what the polarity is. So as you can see on the power one, which we put in earlier, you've got the negative on the left, which is the black, and the positive on the right. But when you get to the fan ones, which are in the middle of all those red ones there, you've got the red one on the left, which is the positive, and the negative on the right on that one. Also, if we now pop down and have a little closer look at the fan connector, you can see on that as well, you want to have the red on the right hand side and the black on the left. And just in case it helps out, here's a quick little close up of the stop switch connectors and what have you. Right, okay, so now you've seen how they all connect together on there. If you've seen last week's video, because this bit I'm now just shooting fresh, you'll know about the broken connector that I have here. I've not got around to ordering some new ones yet. It's all just been a little bit manic my end. I've got a cold and some other things, so I haven't quite got around to that. So I'm just going to now move into the outro. So roll the outro, Elite. Okay, rightio. So as you can tell, like I've just said, we're at a bit of a stuck point right now. Hoping to get some of those ordered up in the next couple of days, before the weekend anyway, so hopefully I shall get them overnighted or something like that. If not, I do have a RS isn't too far from here, Maplin's isn't too far from here, so if I can find it in stock at one of those ones here, I can go and pick them up direct. I hope you went over that. If you when it comes to the bit here where I was doing all that and the slide thing, I hope that worked for you. If at any point you need to know where anything is, so just pause the video and you can see, as you saw how I did it, I had like the component itself, what the connector looks like, and where it was going. One thing I didn't go over is on the stop switch ones here, you do see there's like an end which is one end wider than the other. The wider one is the one that goes on the stop switch itself, and the thinner one is the one that plugs into the board. Anyway, that's something I probably should have put in on there, but I'll put it in the MPs here because it's all one lovely big video anyway. So I hope you enjoyed that so far. Next week should hopefully see the more tidied up version of this and me trying to get it up and running. Now, one thing I didn't say about in there was putting on this Bowden tube and what have you here. So what I will do is I will show that in next week's video, because it's a very quick and easy thing to put on and take off, as you've just seen there. So I'll put that there to remind myself to film that bit, otherwise I'll forget. Anyway, I hope you've liked this. If you liked it or whatever, hit like, subscribe, and catch me up on Twitter here at Hiboson. Apart from that, you know, feel free to leave any comments on the bit below. Well, please forgive me. Like I said, I've got a cold and it's been hitting me pretty hard recently. Anyway, I will see you next week. Bye.